When you walk up to the vehicle with the key, it senses the key because it has the full proximity system. But you'll notice that it doesn't do anything. It does, you can see some lights inside kind of turn on, but it's not really turning on any approach lights or anything like that. So when we hit the unlock button, now we have these handle lights that illuminate where the handles are. There's also a light that extends from the side of the vehicle here on the side, on the ground, basically. It's not as useful as an approach light as you would think, because it's more just for like a design, but it does help out a little bit right where you're stepping towards the vehicle. Also, the exterior lights here on the front and back are on, and some of the interior lights are on now, but they quickly go out if you don't enter the vehicle. Now I have the parking lights on, and the parking lights are basically these LEDs, daytime running lights, looking pretty good, and they have like a little style to them. They're not overly bright. They're not going to be mistaken for headlights. There's also an amber side marker here in the front. It's quite bright. It's really bright, actually. The tail lights are red, and they wrap around to the side of the vehicle, serving as side markers as well. But yeah, the camera kind of makes them look a little bit orangey. But you notice here on the left side, right here, it looks more red. So it's just the camera making it look orange. It's actually a nice deep red. I'm lowering the brightness here, hopefully you can see that. But they look really nice. Tag lights are also now on. Turn signal is amber here on the front, and it kind of has like this fade on, fade out effect. And they are very bright headlights here in the front, or turn signals here in the front. Amber in color. Look really good. Nice and bright. There's also a turn signal indicator here on the side mirror that is also bright. It's visible from the front, the side, and the back. And the turn signal is basically just a bright red light. It's all red. There's no amber here. So it's the inner portion here, and then the inner portion of the vehicle illumination. Then there's a little spot there. It's kind of interesting how it's actually two different places at the same time. Instead of having that center part illuminate all the way across, it does it on the outside, and then the inside of where the trunk is illuminates. Interesting. Kind of has a neat effect. We open up the trunk, we still have that both lights. So either way, whether the trunk's open or closed, that can be seen. Especially since this is also the hazard lights as well. Now the reverse lights, the third brake light is at the top of the glass, and then there is fairly bright reverse light here in the center bottom of the vehicle, LED, and it does help out a lot. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn on the low beams. You can see they kind of go through the range of motion when you first turn them on. And you're not going to mistake your daytime running lights for these. These are quite a bit difference in brightness there. And the low beams are a projector. That outer portion right here is the projector for the low beams. Then the high beams is there in the center. Let me turn the brightness down so you can see. The inner portion is illuminated right now, but there's not much light there. It's mostly when you have the high beams on, that inner portion will be illuminated. But you also notice that when I turn on the low beams, the grille also has an accent light. We're looking really nice. Not overly bright, but it's nice and sharp. And you can see it without being overly bright. So you can see it casts a little bit of light, but not enough to where it's like, just really looks really good. So the low beams, let's test the cutoff here. Let's go back a little ways and dip down. So the cutoff is quite low, about 2.5 feet off the ground. Now these are auto leveling headlights. So as you floor it and the front of the vehicle lifts up, it'll keep the headlights from lifting up as well. That'll kind of push them down. But yeah, the front end looks really nice. Let's go to the high beams. And when you turn on the high beams when you're driving, when it goes to low and high, you notice it's just turning on. Well, when we go down the road, I'll show you. They actually kind of have this effect when they go to high beams. And I'll try to explain why that is. It's kind of like a matrix type headlight, but in the United States, they have to just have low and high beams. So they just kind of disable that feature and just make it go, have a little effect to it. But anyways, there's the inner portion now illuminated with the low beams. So we're adding to the light, not just refocusing an existing light. So now we have the full lights here on the front and looking really nice. Now the trunk light, it just has a single light there in the center and not all that great. So you can see it does a decent job, the illumination, the brightness in the center, but you see if there's anything here, and it doesn't even really go back in this area where there's a pocket. So there is a shadow here because I have stuff in here. So that's the drawback of having just a single light. If there was more than one light, then it will help out with shadows. Also, the brightness isn't all that great, but it's you know, it's okay, but it could definitely be better. There is backlit buttons here for closing the power trunk. The inside of the back door, there's no puddle light or anything, but it does have that light that extends on the ground. It's kind of useful, but it'd be nice if it had a dedicated puddle light here. There is a pocket light. Now this is part of the ambient lighting system, which has the different colors you can change. So there's lights in the pockets there, and also there's a little finder light for the power window switch. Back seats, there's some floorboard illumination looking really nice. And it's relatively soft light here. So you can see the lights coming from the center, not very bright, mostly in the laps. So yeah, it's okay. It's okay. And then there is some backlit USB ports right here. And then there's a little pocket that's not lit. But yeah, that floorboard illumination does help, because these lights right here is not going to cut it without those. There's also a little USB ports here on the back of the seat and a little accent light there as well. The inside of the driver's side door, once again, if it had a dedicated puddle light, it'll be a little bit better than this little strip, even though the strip looks really cool. There's pocket lights here. There's also a light here where I have this rag stuffed, so you can see that. And then now we're getting into the more significant accent lights here in the front. We have, of course, the buttons for all these are backlit here, and a trunk button, presets for the seats, all that stuff's backlit. Nice floorboard illumination, nice and bright. All these are adjustable, the brightness and stuff. All these lights. So if you don't want all these bright lights, you can adjust the brightness, and you can also turn them off. And the lights here on the front are coming from the center, and once again, they're kind of subtle, not very bright, but they mostly shine in the lap and do a decent job, kind of overall, I guess. When you first get in the vehicle, the interior lights are white and has this little animation thing going on, some sound. So I have the door open, the interior lights on, so you can see, kind of subtle. The flickering is coming from the camera. Some of these LED lights flicker, some don't, depending on, you know, their flicker rate, basically. But, so that's not really happening in real life. But anyways, this is what it looks like. Let me go ahead and shut the door. All right. See the interior lights go out. Those are the ones that are kind of flickering right now. Let's go ahead and start it up, because the vehicle, every time I open the door, it just turns off automatically. So I'm gonna have to restart it. There we go. Now the interior lights are turning off. Then we're left with the accent lights here, ambient lights, backlit buttons here on the steering wheel. Left to the steering wheel. You see there on the door. There's the gauge cluster. So right here is the phone charger, and it's illuminated. The cup holders are illuminated. Right here, kind of have like a teal color. I can change all the colors, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. These are all illuminated. There's also a light coming from the top here. It's got a little flicker to it, but That's color matched with the system, which is like an ambient light that comes in here, gives you your bearings basically, a little bit of light, especially when it's really dark. It helps out a lot. This opens up and you have get some papers out. Has a light in there, the center console. That's handy. Glove compartment does have a nice bright light. You can see the pockets there, floorboard illumination as well. Now, see, the floorboard is now, instead of just white, it is the ambient color. So you can see that there. So it's not overly done. I like the way they just kind of match everything. Which is really cool right here. If you hit the four-way flashers, it turns everything, it flashes everything for a few seconds there. Isn't that cool? And then it goes back to there. All right, so it has the auto dim mirror. These lights up here are illuminated for the reading lights. And once again, these are very they're a little flickery, but on camera. But let me see if I can make that go away. Yeah, it's not really working. Anyways, that's just kind of like for a reading light. There's no there's no button to push up here that just turns on all the interior lights. There's individual lights, and then if you press this button, it takes you to the light settings. And then you can, do different things here. And this is where we're going to go into the ambient light and all that stuff. We'll show you that in a second. Let me just show you the visor here. Visor has a nice soft light, has a mirror with a light, and it goes all the way across. So instead of having two separate lights, it has one bar there at the top, and it's very soft. It's not going to, ruin your night vision so much. It's really well done. Okay, so these ambient lights. Actually, let's go to cockpit brightness at night. You can actually adjust everything at once. So you can bring it right down much lower, and you can bring it up really high. So it kind of like brings down the brightness. All right, let's just bring it a little bit, kind of 3/4, that kind of thing. And now let's go to the ambience. Let's go right here. And then you have background light. And now that's a little bit different. So background light is, you see this little strip right here, and then the floorboard illumination, that kind of stuff. That's what that's adjusting. It's not the same thing as these lights. These are accent lights, so we can adjust their brightness separately. You can also reduce for night driving, so we can turn that feature on. So at night, it'll kind of automatically dim them, and it'll be more bright during the day. There's lighting effects. There's a welcome light, safety and warning light, incoming calls, charging, personal assistant, and speakers. What's interesting is it says in the settings that you can have lights on the speakers, but there's no lights on the speakers. I guess on maybe a different trim or a different model has that kind of thing. Also, feedback via steering wheel. That's the little lights right here will illuminate on the steering wheel when you say go out of your lane or something like that. But let's go back up here. So we can actually turn off the ambient light. If you just don't want that, you can just turn it all off. I like it, so I'm gonna leave it on. Now let's go to the color. So it has these different colors here. And let's go start at the top. Ivory. And then we can adjust the brightness. There's citrine. Gold. That's pretty cool. Nice yellow gold. Lime. Kind of a yellowish green. It's kind of hard to tell. Let me turn the brightness down a little bit. It's kind of hard to tell that color because it's so bright. Emerald, nice deep green. Turquoise. Pearl, it's just a nice white. Kind of soft, looks good. Azure, blue. Ocean, another shade of blue apparently. Indigo. Nice deep blue. Well, I skipped one, but that is the flamingo. Can't forget the lavender. Purple. Got pink and purple. Papaya. It's kind of like a peach. Orange. Coral. And last but not least is the rose. That kind of looks like a really light pink. But yeah, let's go back here to, we'll go ahead and go with the lavender for right now. So yeah, all these lights, they're kind of adjustable. There's the shadow lights, and then there's the direct lights, that kind of stuff. And you can adjust them the way you want. And this screen right here, it has the camera system, and it looks really good at night. And you can see the road, you can see everything, just as good as daylight, because it brightens it up a little bit. You can see it's a little bit brighter than real life, so it does help out a lot. The camera system, go ahead and pull that up. It looks also good at night. There is some parking lot lights, but there is, even in the shadows, you can see pretty decent. And when you put it in reverse, that backup camera that does well, and also the reverse lights in the center, and it does a good job of illuminating behind you. So the cornering light here on the left side, very useful. So as I turn the steering wheel, you can see it turn on there, hopefully. It's a little bit behind the mirror, but it is in this area right here. Also, if you turn on the turn signal, it'll automatically turn it on as well. And then on the right side, put the turn signal on. It illuminates over there. Helps out. Definitely helps out. Especially in the really dark areas. You see it's off now. And it fades on. So there is the pattern on some trees. There's the high beams, there's the low beams, so you can see the cutoff there. It does have a cornering light as well, so as you turn, it'll turn the cornering light on the appropriate side. It does a really good job. Now these headlights are not like the type that move back left and right. They just illuminate everything. There's no need to move them back and forth. And on the oncoming lane, you notice this cutoff looks pretty high, but on the oncoming lane, it's a little bit lower, just to help reduce glare and stuff. You can see that shadow there. Hopefully you can see that. Because it's auto-leveling headlights in name, but as you drive, they still go up and down. It's not like they keep them perfectly level. The only time they really go down is when you accelerate real fast and the vehicle lifts up in the front, then they'll push down. So yeah, it's not really like leveling all the time. So right now, if I hit the accelerator, then they kind of push down, you know. The vehicle lifts up quite a bit when you accelerate because it's such a fast vehicle. So it'll kind of push them down. There's a slight delay, but it'll push them down to keep, hopefully not blind other drivers, basically. So this does have automatic high beams, and they actually work good. I'm really surprised. I guess I shouldn't be. I mean, they should work good. Most vehicles have issues, though. So automatic high beams on. And hopefully we can have some dark roads up here without too much traffic. Okay, so we got the low beams there. And they're doing well. Especially with, I choose this road because the trees are off the side of the road quite a ways. Alright, so let's go to the high beams manually. Yeah, we can see really good. I can see those trees. I don't know if you notice, it kind of like the high beams kind of come up and then spread out. So yeah, I can see those trees in the distance. I can see the road. I can see everything. I mean, it's looking really good. And I do have the brightness turned up a little bit on the camera, so it might look a little bit brighter than what I'm seeing, but it's still good. I mean, the trees are well illuminated. The brightness is good, the pattern is good. You can see the sides of the road a good long ways down the road. There's no patchiness on the road. It's just looking good right here. The head-up display has different views, and I prefer the minimized, the small view on the bottom at nighttime, because it gets a little bit ridiculous, some of the views here. So at nighttime, if it's like real bright screen in front of your face, it kind of a little bit distracting. So I prefer the reduced view like that. The standard view is okay as well. Unless I have a navigation set to a destination, then I'll change it to the directional view, which is fine because it does a decent job of not showing too much stuff unless it's time for a turn.